Good afternoon. Jambo. Yeah, that's the perfect response. Jambo, jambo. Habari gani? Habari gani? Then you respond mzuri sana. Habari gani? Mzuri sana. Perfect. That is the East African language of saying hello and how do you do. I come from Kenya, way out in Africa, in the eastern part of Africa. And I'm here because I love working with communities and working with youth, working with schools, working with institutions, working with universities. And therefore, this is my space. I feel young. I may not look as young, but I'm very young inside here. Actually, I'm forever 16. I'm happy to present the work that we do back in Kenya through the organization called the Greenbelt Movement. It's a movement that has spanned across Kenya, inspired many individuals, inspired many organizations, inspired even government. At a point, we used to work parallel to the government, and we were always clashing. But we got to a point where now we are working in the same direction. And as I come to the end of the presentation, I'll present to you work by the Eye Care Club that has been inspired by the work that the organization has done over the years. Greenbelt Movement was started in 1977 as an idea. Some ladies came for a meeting in Nairobi, which is the United Nations Environmental Program headquarters, and they were talking about water. And they were saying that Africa is going to be water scarce by 1990. And the governments agreed the only way to beat the scarcity was by making sure there is tapped water. Get water from the rivers, get water from the mountain sources, and take it to the homes. And when they started, they discovered that is not a sustainable way of beating water scarcity. Was it? Is that a good way of beating water scarcity by bringing tapped water from the mountains to the homes in Africa? No. So they sat together and agreed that they have to do something simple, produce a simple solution that brings answers along the way. And that is where the Greenbelt Movement came up from. So the women came together and they started doing work around conserving the environment through tree planting. So many women were introduced to the idea, and they understood that by planting trees, by planting them in the forest, by planting them on the farms, you're able to restore your microenvironment, you're able to improve your access to water, you're able to improve the soil, you're able to grow your food. And by bringing together the communities, then we're able to help communities get empowered. Their nutrition became much better. When you have a good environment, when your trees are covering the soil is able to produce food, and food that is not just one type of food. You can grow many types of crops on that farm and improve your nutrition. When your farm, when your community is secure, when you have got enough, when you've got a good environment, then your incomes tend to go up because most of the resources you do not have to take out to the markets to buy. You can use those resources to do other things. So your income goes up. You're also able to do industries. For example, through tree planting, you can get timber, you can get building material, you can put in your beehives, and therefore your natural-based enterprises improve when you have done your tree planting. As a result of the work, we've also been able to boost food production at community level, and we always emphasize that we want to do organically grown food and want to use readily available seed. And we do not encourage communities to use GMOs. We want them to use their indigenous seed that they can share. This one can come with their seeds. This one can come with their tubers, and they can go plant in their homes and increase the amount of food in the community because we have been able to secure our environment. It has also created employment. From the work we have done, we have met community needs on shelter. Where people who planted trees more than 30 years ago, how many are 30 years old here? Perfect. We have many of us. How many are 20 years old? Many of us. If your parents planted trees, a birthday tree when you were born, if they planted 10 trees, how big would those trees be? Some trees would be big enough to get harvested. And those trees are mature enough to construct homes and decent dwelling places for people back home. So the women who started with us in 1977 right now boast of very beautiful and good homes. We have been able to address the energy issue. Homes can now have sustainable sources of energy. Most of our rural homes use firewood or use charcoal to cook their food. When you plant on-farm trees, you're able to harvest the branches over the seasons, and you're able to get your energy. We have also looked at issues of representation. Most of our communities back home are usually underrepresented at decision-making places. Greenbelt movement has developed a space where people can come and agitate for their issues, can come and present their issues, can come and ask for resources to support the work they are doing. It has also promoted participation. We are a grassroots movement. Most of our community members are barefoot. So those are not the people who you'll find walking and talking to members of parliament or talking to their local leaders. But we've created a space where they're able to come together, have a voice, and are able to participate in development at the local level. We've also been able to bring to the light rights, community rights, individual rights, as well as social values, promoted social values and economic ways in which communities can be able to build their resilience and move on. Clicker. Anywhere? So this is what we achieved to get as an organization, a world where three things happen, where the environment, where democracy, and peace are secure. And we talk about three pillars. When you have environment is secure, when you have equity, access to resources, everybody has got equitable access to resources, be you a woman, be you a child, be you a youth, be you disabled, be sick, that you have got good access to resources. That's what you're calling democracy. And there is peace. We are able to see development. And we want to see a world where citizens are actually able to rise up and are empowered to take action. Most of the communities tend to get laid back because they think they are helpless and waiting for the government. But we say when we have secured democracy, when we have secured people's rights, and we have secured peace, we are able to take action and to have sustainable development. We also see that the only way we can go about that is to empower individuals worldwide. Like what we are doing today is an interaction between regions to protect the environment. The earth is our home. If we negatively impact on one side of our home, people on the other side suffer. If you break your small finger, will your feet be running around very happily? If you trip your small toe, will you be laughing? So what you do to one side of the globe affects the other side of the globe. So we want to talk about protecting the environment to promote good governance everywhere. If there's war in Africa, there's trouble elsewhere, isn't it? If there's war in the East, there is trouble elsewhere, isn't it? If there is trouble in the West, people in the East will not be very safe, isn't it? If your neighbors are fighting, do you think you'll be safe? So we are talking about promoting good governance, protecting our environment, and cultures of peace around the world. Our values, we are guided by voluntarism. We talk about people giving what they have, the knowledge they have, the information they have, the time they have, the resources they have to contribute to the common good of all humanity. We also talk about loving our environment and greener spaces. I can see in the Hong Kong city, we have got very perfect initiatives of green spaces coming up. Even where there seems to be so much concrete, you still find somebody's sneaking in a plant here and there to make it green. We talk about self-betterment. It's something to applaud that all of you have taken time from your various places that you report to every day, be it school, be it work, from different countries to come to this particular session because it's coming to build yourself. That is what we talk about, self-betterment. We also call for accountability, integrity, and transparency. Ourselves, are we accountable for our time? Are we accountable for our days? Community empowerment, a strong sense of belonging. We also have community mobilization. We have organized thousands of groups around the continent to engage in tree planting. But as we did our tree planting work, something very interesting happened. We had people rise up together who had been neighbors for many years, for decades, and all of a sudden got to fight. And they called each other strangers. Just because you came from another tribe, I would call you a stranger, and I would kick you out, I would burn your home, I would kill your children, and I would ask you to go back to your native land. And we realized that was a problem. And the Greenbelt movement realized that it was because the society had lost its values. Our values that we care for our neighbors, we care for each other, we protect our neighbors, we also welcome visitors, that has gone. It was replaced by individualism. You want to accumulate resources alone, you want to amass property, you don't care about your neighbor, you don't care about anything else, it's about you and you alone. And that is where we decided to start up the civic education program as an organization, so that people can start defining themselves, their roots. What are the issues that are historical injustices that need to be dealt with? What is our heritage? What do we need to protect? What are the problems that we face? How can we solve those problems ourselves? How can we generally live together in the space called Kenya, in the space called China, in the space called Middle East? How can we live together? And how can we mobilize other people, other individuals, other institutions, governments, to ensure that we are all living peacefully, even as we promote our own work? We developed materials that have helped us do the civic education. One is the Earth Charter. Earth Charter was developed by people who had met in Rio de Janeiro in 1992, and it gives us principles of how we live in the world. We have also helped in the development of the Kenyan Constitution. We contributed to the chapter on land and environment as an organization.